Hi guys, Dr. Godina here. I just wanted to give you a really quick uh, review on the simple view of reading and the answers you have been providing. First of all, let me just pick up my girl here. Say hello. She always comes around whenever I'm about to do something with technology. She's like, can I get in on it? She's an attention hog. Anyway, the simple view of reading, I asked you about its characteristics. And back in the 60s, uh, there was this song. I'll try to add it to this thread, but there was this song. It went something like this: nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you want to be with me. So I'll stop singing now. But nothing from nothing is kind of like what you have when you don't have uh, listening comprehension and word recognition, which equals comprehension. So there's a multiplication symbol inside the X, inside the simple view of reading, because word recognition and listening comprehension play off of each other and lead to comprehension. And another thing that may be throwing you off is comprehension itself. The goal of all reading instruction is not phonological awareness. It's not all fluency. The goal of all reading instruction is always going to be comprehension. Kids have to understand what they're reading. Doesn't matter if it's on paper, in a screen, if it's a billboard on the street, they have to make sense of what they're reading. That's always going to be our goal as reading teachers, to make sure kids understand what they're reading. So the thing that may be throwing you off is that there is actually two types of comprehension in the simple view of reading. And the first one is oral. So the first one is listening comprehension. So it's like oral language. And so this is kind of interesting because it shows a shift in how we're going to treat kids and how they learn how to read. And I've mentioned this before, but when I was a young teacher, really our goal was to keep kids quiet because they were all wild and out of control. So it was not unusual to ask kids to be quiet and to sit at their desks, and they'd all be in a row and working on their worksheets and stuff. And it seemed like it was normal to try and have a quiet classroom, right? But now the opposite is true. We've learned through research that kids who talk a lot actually form a logic that leads to text comprehension. So the first part, listening comprehension, is purely oral. It's just language. It's talking and listening. Kids talk. They might use new words. They might hear a new word. They learn the difference between a joke and something serious. So they're forming a logic that transfers over to text comprehension. So when we think of the equal sign, when it equals comprehension, that equals text reading comprehension, being able to read print, right? And so when kids put together word recognition and oral language, it's conducive toward text comprehension. And word recognition, of course, the first dose of word recognition is going to come in the form of environmental print. But it doesn't stop there. So we want kids to be able to look at word walls. We want to activate a literacy-rich environment so kids can see print that makes sense. So if you go into any classroom, you'll be able to see like lots of examples of print where kids can, look at like grammar structure or new words that they're reading in a book that they're reading that week, things like that. And the way kids learn new vocabulary is they don't learn it by reading a list. They learn it by everyone around them talking about the new word. So they learn it by actually practicing the new word from hearing it multiple times. So kids don't learn a new vocabulary by reading a list and memorizing it. So this is what is known as orthographic mapping. So your brain literally creates this kind of memory, this process where it engraves that understanding, right? Whereas decoding is simply taking apart the sounds in a word, right? But eventually, orthographic mapping is actually not memorizing, but creating a very solid recognition of a word for understanding. And the thing is that phonics is great, it's wonderful, but there we have what are regular and irregular words. Now, regular words can be decoded with phonics, but irregular words have to be memorized. And I don't want to say memorized, they have to be learned, right? Because kids don't memorize words, they remember them. So let's take the word, for example, I know you. I know. It's spelled with a K, right? But a kid that's decoding would say, I canal you, right? Because they're actually doing it correctly. They're decoding. But of course, everyone knows you don't pronounce no like that, that the K is silent. That's because it's a sight word. And as kids progress, they become more familiar with sight words or these irregular words that are very common. So you can think of regular words in phonics as like the training wheels of a bike, where kids just barely begin to kind of put letters and sounds together. And of course, you have part of that is knowing the alphabet. And so that's kind of very early. So some of you that are saying, oh, it's comprehension and stuff, actually comprehension is very limited in, kindergarten, first, second grade. It's going to be very limited. We're getting there, but kids are still figuring out how to read. So you can't have complete comprehension by when you're still learning to read, right? And finally, about the social nature of the classroom, the reason why desks are arranged that way, not so teachers can teach better, not so, to discipline kids, not so, so it's so kids can talk with each other. Because when you have kids in groups, they're talking with each other, they're working on problems together. That's, in essence, cooperative learning. And we want kids to work together, to talk together. It's not so the teacher can supervise. Some of your answers, it's like the teacher is doing everything for them. No. You want kids to talk with each other. The teacher is going to guide them, provide examples, right? The teacher is going to teach a lesson, and then the kids are going to work independently together, right? And so that's going to be constant. That's going to be constant. So I just wanted to clarify that simple view of reading, because some of you are really off and you need to figure this out, because I promise you, you are going to get some questions on the simple view of reading when you take your STR exam. That's all for now. Go Dust Devils.